It is Thursday, February 26th, and you're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Today, folks, we're going to be diving in rebuilds, but not just any rebuilds. Rebuilds that should happen that haven't yet. Or should they? We're going to discuss all of that. We're going to also determine the difference between a rebuild and a retool. Those words have been floating around by GMs all the time, and a lot of people are confused. So we're going to try to clarify things a little bit here today. Of course, Snake's got a hot take ready for us, and we've got two great mailbag questions in the queue. Snake, I hope you're ready because it's going to be a fun show, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
He's gonna be sick.
That's right, producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
Super.
Excellent. I'm excited. We're going to keep going on our rebuild discussion that we've been having for like the last 3 weeks, but now it's the last part of it, right? It's the teams that have not yet committed or entered the rebuild or on the verge of entering it and how they should go about it. Should they go about it? Should they go the retool route instead? There's a lot to discuss, Snake. But first and foremost, let's bring up the topic recommendation because someone actually sent it in, so we got to give him credit. Jacob Slapshot said, I have a video suggestion. Snake should look at and analyze current teams that he thinks need to rebuild as soon as possible and give an outlook of what each of those teams should do to have success in the future. Now, Snake, it's important to remind everyone that a rebuild is not, a blueprint. You don't have to follow these specific steps. Every rebuild is different, and they have to be approached in a certain manner. So, with that said, let's get into the teams, okay? I know you have about 7. I have 8 that I want to discuss. So we've got a lot of teams to dive into.
And we have
not waste any time.
And we haven't shown each other's lists.
That's right. That's see. Right. We have different.
It makes
teams
it more spontaneous. Yeah.
So where do you want to begin?
The Leafs.
Thank you.
Are they on your list?
I had them on my list, and I wasn't sure you were going to.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs for a few shows, and especially the one where you talked about 10 years ago when they entered their rebuild. You were fond of the direction they were going into. But they didn't trust the process, and look where they are now. Now, Snake, it's really interesting because they have some really high-end talent. We're talking about Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Matthew Nyes, John Tavares, right? That's a very strong core. So why are we talking about a rebuild in this case?
We're talking about a rebuild because in most cases, I think what you want to avoid is to become a middle-of-the-pack team. A perennial middle-of-the-pack team that's going to stay there like for 10 years. 1 year you make the playoffs, 1 year you don't. And basically, in September, October, fans cannot expect a Stanley Cup run unless you get extremely lucky with your goaltending. But at the same time, fans know that they're not going to be treated to a last place team that's going to lose 50 games, let's say. But hope is very important. That's what you're selling with professional sports. It's
correct.
Hope. And when you're a middle of the pack team, there's not much hope except a lucky once in a lifetime playoff run. Now, a general comment I'm going to make, and it applies to the Leafs, but to most of the teams that we're going to discuss today, is that no trade clauses in contracts really hampers the teams that want to do a rebuild. So let's say you have Austin Matthews, who's still under contract for 2 years after the season. So he's very, very valuable to a team who thinks he's one goal scorer away from winning the cup. However, will he want to go to that team?
Mm-hmm.
William Nylander has a very long contract, 2030.
Yeah.
Again, will he want to leave? John Tavares was just re-signed for $4 million. That's fine. But so he's at the end of the line. It's probably his last contract. So there's not much you can do with him. And then you have, a guy, the three defensemen, Morgan Rielly, Jake McCabe, Christopher Tanev. They are all in their 30s. They are all under contract until 2030. And Tanev and Rielly have no trade clauses. Yeah. And I think McCabe has a partial no trade clause, which means that at some point, after a couple of years, he's going to have a certain number of teams where he cannot be traded.
16 to be precise.
16. Yes. Okay. So, they have a very old group of defensemen. Rielly's 31, McCabe's 32, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is 34, Tanev is 36. And there's not much in the pipeline. That's the problem. Because the league...
Ben Danford and that's it.
Pardon me?
It's Ben Danford and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There's not much.
Ben Danford is a number 6 defenseman, basically. So the problem with them also is that they don't have a first-round picks for the next 2 years. Bingo. Unless they win the lottery and they end up in the top 5 this year. But anyway, let's, just to simplify the conversation, they don't have a pick for the next couple of years. Okay.
Snake, if I may interject.
Yeah.
This current draft, they have 3 picks.
Yeah.
They have 3 picks in the whole draft, Snake.
They are paying for the fact that they tried to do a playoff run. When you succeed, it's no big deal. But when you don't succeed, the rebuild is going to take longer. So now, what can we expect for the future? I think we can expect that Austin Matthews leaves in 2 years. So perhaps at some point he would lift his no-trade clause. What can they recoup? It depends on when he's traded. Obviously, if he were to be traded this year, a team would have him for 3 playoff runs. If he's traded next year, it's 2 playoff runs. Mm-hmm. Will he be traded? Will he want to be traded? How will fans react? Because obviously, if you're trading away Austin Matthews, you're giving up.
Yeah,
you're waving the white flag.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a situation where if they can't monetize their assets right now, Matthews, Nylander, the 3 defensemen, probably what's going to happen is that they're going to go down the way, Vancouver did or does this year, San Jose, Chicago. But then at least those teams, they had assets to trade. If Matthews leaves and Tavares retires, what do you have? You have Matthew Nyes, you have Easton Cowan, you have Nylander for a few years.
Yikes!
You have a lot of salary cap room, but will players want to go there? And anyway, let's bust the myth here. Very few stars reach free agency on July 1st when they're in their prime. Mm-hmm. So this idea that the Leafs may have a lot of cap room and they're rich and all these guys that were signed recently to long-term contracts, they're not going to reach free agency anytime soon. So if the Leafs are thinking, oh, we might get Hudson and Slavkovsky, no, you won't.
Yeah.
So that's a myth. It's not baseball. Baseball, a lot of very good players do reach free agency. Obviously, they reach free agency sometimes at the age of 31, and they end up being bad contracts. We see it every year. But at least there's more quality in free agency. In hockey, you fill holes with free agency. You don't build a team.
Correct.
So Toronto has no advantage whatsoever with their situation, even if the cap goes up. So my verdict is, unless they get something for the last few assets that they have, it's going to be another 10 years before they can start thinking about contending.
Oh,
because then you have to win a lottery, let's say in 2028. Yeah. Then you get let's say you get a Maddox Schultz, but then you know he's not going to be ready right away. He's then what? The Sharks, you might say, oh well, they have Celebrini and they're on the way up. Yeah, they have Celebrini. First of all, not every first overall pick is a Celebrini, and second of all, the Sharks were able to trade good assets in their prime. Mm-hmm. Thomas Hertl, Timo Meier. They even managed to get a first-round pick for a 30-something Carlson because he had a 100-point season the season before.
Yeah,
and they got Sam Dickinson out of it.
Yeah,
but you these things don't happen every year. So verdict about Toronto: long way to go.
Wow, and I mean they're beyond repair in the sense that a retool wouldn't be enough. Like they have to tear it down to build it back up, right?
Yeah, but will they be able to tear it down? That's because other teams that I'm going to mention could be able to tear it down. The Leafs, it's going to be very hard.
Oof, boy, I wonder what Sid Sixero thinks about that. Maybe we should ask him. He's a part of the team now. Yeah, not looking great for the Leafs, and they lost their game yesterday against Tampa, so no bueno.
And for those in Toronto who listen and who don't know me very well, I don't have any kind of.
No, that's it. You're not a fan of any team. And
exactly.
You don't dislike any team either.
No, so it's not about. I'm not bashing on Toronto. If they were Columbus, if Columbus had the same roster, I would say the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's funny that we're having this discussion, especially about Matthews in the current situation that he is in. I don't know if you saw the Toronto Star. I think wrote an article about him. Having his priorities in the wrong place. Let's just say that. So it's a funny discussion. It's a possibility. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a song about that. It's a possibility. So yeah, the Leafs rebuild. Who's next?
The Rangers.
I have them too.
Are they on your list? Okay.
Absolutely. They're on my list.
The Rangers is kind of a different situation because they have 2 first-round picks this year. And they have all their picks, all their first-round picks in the next few years. They're probably going to get Carolina's pick, so it might not be a very high pick, but at least, they have 2 picks. I think they were very wise last year to give away their pick to Pittsburgh because it might be a better pick this year. Would probably be a better pick this year. So I think it was wise of them to foresee what was happening. Now, they let go of Panarin. They got what I would consider a B-level prospect in return, Lime Greentree. They got a second-round pick. Not too bad, for a guy they didn't want to resign. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Rangers, they went from very promising maybe 5 years ago to not very good. Really not very good. And part of it is due to the fact that they had 4 top 10 picks, and none of them really panned out, and only one is still around. It's Alexis Lafrenière, who will
maybe not for long.
Who seems to be more like a middle of the lineup player than the superstar that they were expecting. Yeah. Vitaly Kravtsov, Liam Anderson, and Capo Caco are gone. So that was really 3 busts, and Panarin has left. He really delivered for them.
Oh yeah.
So did Adam Fox. So it was very promising at the time, but now the cupboard is quite empty. Mm. They have Gabriel Perreault, who I think is a good prospect, not necessarily a star prospect, but I think he's a decent prospect. Lafrenière is only 24 years old. He's under contract for like another 6-7 years. $7 million. Could they trade him? I don't know. He doesn't have a no trade clause for another couple of years. So now is the time if they want to trade him. But what can they get in return? Can they get another quote unquote disappointing high level prospect? Or can they simply get a late first round pick for him? I really don't know. I really don't know what Lafreniere's worth is on the trade market. I have no clue because remember
him at a low,
yeah, because remember a number one overall pick. There's always a GM out there who thinks they mishandled him. We'll take care of it. We'll make a good player. He's only 24. We've seen this in the past. Niall Yakupov played for a million teams. Well, I'm not comparing Lafreniere with Yakupov because I do think that Lafreniere is a decent NHL player. But what I'm saying is that, those who paid a lot of money for his hockey card when he was drafted, I feel bad for them. I feel really bad. So the Rangers, I think, are in a better situation than Toronto because at least they have a few young players. They have Will Kiley, they have Braden Schneider, they have Scott Morrow. And these guys, I think, have trade value if you want to trade them. Adam Fox is still under contract for 3 years. I think he does have a very, very good trade value, this guy.
Oh, excellent.
He's excellent trade value, but he wouldn't fit the timeline of a new core for the Rangers.
No.
Because who knows, if the Rangers get a high pick this year, they might get a great defenseman. They might get a Verhoff. They might get a Schmitz. They might get even, Stenberg or McKenna. So I think the Rangers are in a better position. And also, they have a very, very good goalie who's injured right now, Shesterkin. So I think the Rangers, some might put them in the category of retool, but I don't. I think a rebuild should be done. And if they need to trade their goalie, their star goalie, well, why not? Why not?
Wow.
But again, he has there's two arguments against it. Well, first of all, he has a no movement clause, and second of all, there are rebuild analysts or experts who always say that if you're going to go into a rebuild, you need good goaltending to help the young crew progress and not basically tank, make them totally discouraged because you give away 2-3 bad goals. Because this is what happened with rebuilds. I mean, if you look at the San Jose Sharks before this year, they had good goaltending by Blackwood for half a season, but they traded him. But most of the time, they had very, very, very poor goaltending. So is it a good idea to keep the goalie or not? Well, that's a topic of discussion by itself.
Because I see the other side of the coin, whereas good goaltending could prevent you from drafting higher.
Exactly.
Right? Like I still see tweets about criticizing Sam Montembeault and Alex Belzile for essentially crushing the Habs' chances of getting Connor Bedard. Right? You remember they
I remember
a crazy run. Won the Habs games on their own. And essentially decreased their chances of getting the first overall pick. So again, there's two sides of the coin. Yeah, you want to keep your team, I guess, hopeful and the fans hopeful as well. But at the same time, you also want to suck. Let's be honest here. Get the better chance of getting the better picks. It's complicated. It's difficult. Yeah.
Well, personally, what I would do, I would put the worst goaltending possible for a couple of years. That's what I would do. But like I say, Shesterkin is very, if he doesn't want to leave New York, he doesn't leave New York.
No.
So, but let's say that, let's be realistic here. And whenever there's no movement clause or a very bad contract, we're not going to assume that the team can trade them. No, so I think in the Rangers case, I see a team that will have a few top 5 to 7 picks in the next 2-3 years. And they have a couple of young, good players. if they can trade, you know, a Fox, let's say a Lafreniere, who knows? So I think the Rangers are not like in a great position, but they're not in a bad position like the Leafs, and they could actually get back, you know, to the playoffs within 5 years. And again, yeah, there are not that many free agents available, but if there is one place where one top free agent who could be available, who knows who it is, could go, it's New York.
We've seen it before.
We saw it with Panarin. Yeah.
That's it. Hey, I mean, we're starting off with two of the biggest markets in the NHL, so we're swinging over here, and two markets who went through rebuilds not that long ago. So, yeah, big decisions to come. Who's next?
I have another one in the Eastern Conference, and this one is a little bit tricky because I think they're sort of doing it without doing it. It's Pittsburgh.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I had them as well. I wanted to discuss them. It's
what happens with Pittsburgh. Well, they have tons of draft picks. We have talked about it, I think, on Monday. Did we talk about it on Monday? Or maybe I talked about it. No, I talked about it with Tony in French yesterday on Tony's Sick podcast.
Yeah.
And basically, they have 25 picks in the first 3 rounds for the next 3 years, something like that.
I'll count them for you.
I mean, it's crazy. And what happens with Pittsburgh is that they're accumulating picks, but they kept Crosby, Malkin, and Letang and Carlson.
Yeah.
And they're in the playoffs right now as we speak. It's going to be hard with Sidney out for a month. But still, they have a bit of a cushion. Who knows? But it's amazing. They're trying to do some kind of a retool. I think the problem with that retool is that they're doing right now, they're going to be throwing a lot of darts. And if they do their job well, if the scouts do their job well, they're going to end up with quite a few good players. We can see now Ben Kindle, Will Horkoff coming up. I really liked him in the NCAA as a goal scorer. But my issue with Pittsburgh is that will they be able to get the stars in the draft? Because if they keep getting, the 10th pick or 9th pick, the 11th pick, well, the probabilities of getting a superstar are smaller than if you have a top 3 pick. Exactly. So that's my concern with Pittsburgh thing. But I think their situation is better than I thought it would have been 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I felt, okay, this team, the minute the big 3 retires, I mean, they're so done. They're going to be like Toronto, basically. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like what I think Toronto will be. But no. I think just by all the picks that they have, they're going to be able to do something with these picks. They could even acquire young players with those picks. So I think they're trying to do both. They're going to let these contracts expire, the Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson contracts, getting young players. The problem is, will they get the superstars? So that's my take on Pittsburgh. But they're certainly on the way at some point to becoming. I don't know if they're going to go down. They might go down a little bit, but I don't think they're going to bottom out. But they're still in the playoffs. So who knows? Maybe they'll avoid the dreaded last place that San Jose, Chicago couldn't avoid. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think it's an intriguing situation to follow in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and especially now with Crosby out for the next 4 weeks, how does that change their plans? Because they were well on their way to making the playoffs. They had a really good season, but literally the most important piece of that team is out for 4 weeks, and those are tough games. I don't know if you've seen the Pittsburgh Penguins schedule. Ooh, the month of March is a gauntlet for them. So,
but the thing is, they only have 4 games, 3-4 games before they can make a decision because trade deadline is 8 days away.
Yeah, Kyle Dubas is in a tough spot here. But like you say, I mean, they've got 20 picks in the first 3 rounds over the next 4 drafts. So draft-wise, they're loading up. Now it's about the rest. And I
Plus
think
a few young players, a few young good guys in the pipeline too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, they've done a good job building for the future. But like you say, they still need that high-end talent. And you can't bank on getting lucky and getting, a Lane Hudson in the second round or Nikita Kucherov, right? Like those they're incredibly rare. It doesn't happen. You have to draft high, put the odds in your favor. But again, in order to draft high, you also have to suck. And they're building such a good young core that they're going to be good, but not bad, but not good enough. So again, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky.
Shayne, do you have any other team in the Eastern Conference? I'm curious.
I do not.
I do not either.
So
that means that in the Western Conference, you have one more team than I do. Okay. Right. Let's go with the next division. I have Nashville. You have Nashville. You do.
Of course, I
have Nashville. Okay, Nashville. What a strange summer they had 2 years ago.
That's an understatement. Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me, for older listeners, of what the New York Rangers were trying to do in the late 90s. They would sign every free agent available and hoping that it would gel and they would do well. This is exactly the old-fashioned recipe that Barry Trotz followed 2 years ago when he signed Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. And was there another one? Anyway, I think that was the big 3 in signings that he did. Mm-hmm. And he probably his reasoning was that, okay, we have Roman Josi, who's still pretty good. We have Philip Forsberg, who's still pretty good. And I think they also acquired Ryan O'Reilly. So they're thinking, okay, just add the 4 stars to what we have. We have a very good goalie, and we're good for a playoff run. No, a Stanley Cup run. Yeah. They didn't even make the playoffs. But the good thing is that they got Brady Martin at number 5, with number 5 pick. Brady Martin, who I consider, let's call him the new Sam Bennett, or a young Sam Bennett, the kind of guy that's going to be a real pest in the playoffs whenever they make the playoffs. I know they're only like 4 or 5 points away from the playoffs this year. So they're probably thinking that they have a chance. I don't know what they're going to do at the trade deadline. Again, all these stars, or most of them, have no movement clauses. So I think right now, Nashville, what they could do is try and trade those guys. They still have their first round pick for the next 3 years. They have an extra second round pick also. So their draft capital is good. If they can only trade some of these guys, that would be great. If they can't, you just let the contracts run out. You're going to be a very average to bad team. You're going to get the high picks, but are you going to get the number 1, number 2, number 3 picks? I doubt it. They have good goaltending. So, look, that's another team that I think could be good, but not bad enough to bottom out. And therefore, 5-7 years down the road, they might have like a good roster, but not a great roster. Mm-hmm. So the outcome of the possibility of a cup, in the next 7-8 years, I think are pretty slim unless they win the lottery or bottom out somehow. And I know that some listeners might wonder, well, is it necessary to have superstars to win the cup? Is it necessary to have top 3 picks or top 5 picks? Well, if you could look at the rosters of the last 15, 20, 25 years. Yeah. But is that enough? No, because if it were, the Edmonton Oilers would have 5 Stanley Cups.
That's it.
So it's not just about the high picks. But if you only have like good to very good players, or you're going to be a good to very good team, but you're going to miss a Barkov, to win it all. You're going to miss a Crosby. You're going to miss a Patrick Kane, let's say. Mm-hmm. St. Louis won the Cup without real superstars. They still have Alex Pietrangelo, who was drafted number 4. It was an important part of it. But again, I think the Blues were a little bit of an aberration. Yeah, they were the kind of team that was very, very good. They peaked at the right time. They made the playoff. Bennington was very good. So honestly, if I had a hot take about rebuilds, it would be leave me alone with the Blues. Because I hear it all the time. Every time I talk rebuild. Yes, but the Blues. Yes, but the Blues. Okay, leave me alone with the Blues. They were
it's the only
an anomaly.
One.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were an anomaly.
Every other team you look, they had superstars on their team. It's
at least
a fixture.
At least one, So if the Habs ever win a cup one day, they will have those superstars. You don't win with a bunch of Thomas Plekanec, if you see my point. You have a decent team with Thomas Plekanec, but you don't win with Thomas Plekanec. You need a Slavkovsky to become a superstar. You need a Demidov to become a superstar, a Hudson. You need these guys. If the Habs win, it'll be mainly because of their stars. But then you have to build a team around them. So that's the thing with Nashville. Don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sort of lukewarm regarding their future success. Do you have another team in that division?
I do.
Oh, which I don't have. I'm listening. Is it? Let me guess. Is it the Blues?
Correct.
Oh, it's the Blues. Okay, I didn't include them on the list. It was kind of borderline. I'm curious to hear your reasoning and see if you can change my mind.
Well, okay. So the Blues to me are they're a very weird team because last year, remember, they were one of the hottest teams at one point, especially after the Four Nations break. They were just rolling, right? It was pretty crazy to see, even though on paper they were just supposed to be good, right? Yeah. But they were playing great. Now this year they're supposed to be fine, and they're horrible, like one of the worst teams in the league. So they're a very weird group. I don't quite see the vision. I think that's where I'm at. Like I don't see the vision. I don't see where it's headed. They've got good young pieces, right? They've got like a Jimmy Snuggerud. They've got a Dalibor Dvorsky, right? They've got those good young pieces, but again, no superstars. But at the same time, they have a core that's made to like win now, right? You have the Robert Thomas, you have the Jordan Kyrou, you have these types of players that they want to win now, like they're peaking right now. So I feel like the Blues kind of need direction, which is why I was wondering what you thought about, either a rebuild or a retool, which direction is best for them, because something needs to change, obviously. I mean, they're going to get a good pick this year. And if they do well in the trade deadline, they're going to get more picks. So again, adding to that, but they're a very enigmatic team for me. I don't quite understand what Doug Armstrong is doing right now, but maybe by next Friday we'll have a better idea.
Yeah. Look, I do get your point. My issue with the St. Louis rebuilding is that they have players like Philip Broberg and Robert Thomas, who are still very young, under contract for a gazillion years. And you're thinking, are they still going to be, let's say you do a rebuild and you keep them. Are they still going to be at their peak when your younger core is ready to win? And that was a concern that some fans had with the Montreal Canadiens, because Suzuki and Caulfield were a little bit older than Demidov, Slavkovsky, Reinbacher, all the guys, Lane Hudson, the guys that they got in the draft. Yeah. But luckily for the Habs, except for Reinbacher, these other young dudes are doing very well already. So it's okay, because the next 5 years of Suzuki and Caulfield are not going to be wasted. The problem with the Blues is that if you let's say if you clean house, with the Parekos, Justin Falk, even Bennington, all these guys who have some value, Jordan Kyrou, then Thomas and Broberg, for instance, are they still going to be good in 5-6 years? Are they still going to be as good? The thing with the Blues is that they have good players in every age group.
That's true. Like you got a Braden Shen, who's
and some might say, that's good. That's good. You have a combination of everything. Yeah, but like you said, they don't really have a superstar. Mm-hmm. So if they have like a McDavid, let's say, who's 29, well, okay, that's fine. You have 35-year-old players who are good. You have 19-year-old players who are good. But again, they're 19-year-old players. Dvorsky, they have Stenberg's brother, Otto.
Yeah.
They drafted a lot of guys. I think they had 10 guys at the World Junior Championship last year. But if you look at them individually, they're fine. But they're not ready to contribute that much right away. And what's their ceiling? Okay, they have Logan Mailloux. They've kept him around since they called him up. But I never saw Mailloux more than a third pairing guy. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think he's going to be an impact player. Broberg, I like a lot. Parayko still, I think Parayko, another one who has a no trade clause. But Parayko is under contract for 5 years. I think there are teams who would be willing to pay for him. Because he's a monster. He's a big guy. He's a monster. Teams are looking for these guys. They re-signed Buchnevich until 2030. He's 30 years old. Would anyone pay for 5 years of Buchnevich at $8 million? I don't think so. Brayden Schenn has 3 years left. I think he's going to have more value as his contract winds down. They might get maybe, who knows? You never know. If he gets hot in a couple of years, they might get a late first-round pick for him. But that's not for now. I like Dylan Holloway. He's fine.
Yeah.
Jake Neighbors, I like. So that's why it's tricky. I wouldn't do it. I think my idea with the Blues is that either you do it or you don't. You can't just say, oh, we're going to trade Parayko or we're going to trade Brayden Schenn and then hope that this will garner enough to complement the rest of the team. Another theory is it possible, Shayne, that the Blues just had a very, very bad, October, November, and that basically they could bounce back next year with that group of players? Thomas is injured. Is injured. Holloway's injured. Do you think that next year they could go back to where they were last year? Or do you think that last year was kind of their peak and now they can only they've reached a plateau or they can only go down? That's my question with the Blues.
Yeah, I'm not sold. I agree with your point of committing to a trajectory. That's kind of where I'm at with them. It's that's why I asked the question, is because I don't know where they're going, and I don't think they know where they're going. They're going in 14 different directions at the same time.
When you have players in the same in different age groups, where do you draw the line? The Chicago Blackhawks 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, they decided that they were trading everybody. So they traded Brandon Eagle, they traded Kirby Dach, they traded DeBrincat, who are all, in the age group of, the guys we just mentioned, the Broberg, the Holloways, the Neighbors. I don't think the Blues will do that. Because then you bottom out for 5-6 years, like what's happening in Chicago. Chicago, they got Bedard out of it. And the jury's out on the rest of their draftees because they're too young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Blues are a weird team, but Snake, I mean, it's funny because I actually have another team in the Central Division.
Okay.
But this is more of a question that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Winnipeg Jets here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because last year, again, similar to the Blues, right? Last year, they were actually the best team in the league. Like they won the President's Trophy, right? They were the best team. Yeah. And this year, they have a chance to draft first overall. Like that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the fall off is pretty significant, but the roster didn't change that much. Like they lost Ehlers and like Nyquist. I think that's about it, right?
Well, Nyquist is still around, but he's a million years old now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. So like, I don't need like what changed, but again, something it must have changed because they fell off drastically, and now they're being exposed for being a one line, one defenseman, one goalie team. Like their depth is providing nothing. So and in the pipeline, it's pretty thin as well.
I do agree with you. I think they made their bed when they re-signed Kyle Connor at $12 million a year until 2034. Because obviously he's 29 years old. He's still a very, very good player. Excellent player. He's a star.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Scheifele is still a star.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're not really... Will they want to leave? I think Mark Scheifele at $8.5 million is easily tradable if he wants to be traded.
No movement clause. Once again,
no movement for 2 years. But if he wants to be traded, I think they can get a truckload of picks for him.
Oh yeah.
Gabe Vilardi, player I like. He's only 26, 27, and there's no trade clause. $7 million. I think he's tradable.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Kyle Connor would be tradable, but you can't really. You sign a guy for $12 million a year. You can't ask him 1 year later, will you waive your no trade clause? So I think they're kind of stuck with him. Adam Lowry has a lot of value, but they re-signed him again. No trade clause. And yeah, they have Alex Iafallo, who I think is very, very tradable because he has a very, very, affordable contract.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Morrissey, partial no trade clause. He's 30 years old. There's another defenseman. There's Sandberg also, who can be traded this year. What's the other defenseman? He's injured right now. I forget his name. There's another 30-year-old guy.
Shen, there's Colin Miller. Logan Stanley might get moved. Neil Pionk has
exactly.
No trade.
He has a partial no trade clause, but is he worth $7 million a year for a team? I think Logan Stanley will be moved by next Friday.
Yeah.
I think he will be moved. I think they'll get a first round pick for him. But the issue I have with and you know what? I think I should have included the Jets. As much as I'm on the fence with the Blues, I should have included the Jets because they do have assets they can trade. And I think their ship has sailed. They won the President's Trophy last year. I think their ship has sailed. Connor Hellebuck, what do you do with him? Again, it's a dilemma. You want a tank. You can't keep Connor Hellebuck. So it's not easy to do these rebuilds, even though you have assets because of the no movement clauses, the contracts, and I always think that when you do something like this, especially in the Jets case, because they have, contrary to St. Louis, who have players in every age group, the Jets, it's one age group. Look at the range between 28 and 32. 27, 32. Most of their guys.
Eddie, that's 24, and that's it.
So their guys are approaching, not the end of the line, but they're approaching the downward spiral, and either you do it or you don't. So you can't just say, oh, we're gonna try and trade Scheifele. Okay, you have to trade them all, and if you do, then you bottom out. Can you afford bottoming out in Winnipeg?
There you go. That's
15,000 arena.
Yeah, they're already in trouble.
A couple of years ago, they had a hard time selling tickets. They were talking about perhaps moving from Winnipeg. Probably that Gary Bettman would love it if they moved from Winnipeg because he has a lot of cities in the States waiting for a team. Houston, for example. So I think the Jets, I think it goes beyond PlayStation type of management.
Yeah.
So the exercise we're doing right now, I think would not apply to the Jets. So they're going to have to live and die with that group. and perhaps try and make better picks because they haven't been very good at the draft table in the last few years.
No, that's it. The pipeline is dry.
Yeah, they had a good they have a good core, a good aging core, and I think at some point they were on the way up, but now they got to get better players. I mean, I like Cole Perfetti; it's fine. Maybe not as good as I thought he would be, but again, young defenseman. Who's their young defenseman? You know, Ville Heinola, Salomonson. But like I say, I think what they might do is trade some pieces that they can trade. Logan Stanley is the obvious guy because they probably cannot pay him what he's going to be worth on the free agent market. And if they're probably going to get a first-round pick. So basically, in about 10 days, the Monday after the trade deadline, we're probably going to be commenting a Logan Stanley trade.
Yeah.
So that's my take on the Jets. I do agree with you. They should have been on my list of rebuilds.
All right. So now we head over to the Pacific Division.
I have 3 teams. How many do you have?
I only have 2.
Okay. So I would assume you don't have the Kings.
I don't have the Kings.
Okay. Why don't you have the Kings? If you have the Blues and the Jets.
I don't have the Kings. Because I don't think they'll do it right now. I think we're talking about short term, like teams who could, engage into that right now. I think they're going to age out and then kind of restart. I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, but the question is, I agree with you. They won't do it. They re-signed Panarin for 2 years.
Yeah. But should they do it?
Adrian can't pay forever. But do you think they should?
Well, they're not going to win with this team. I can tell you that much. They're not going to win. They might make the playoffs. They might squeak in.
Yeah.
They're going to get bounced in the first round.
Yeah.
Quinton Byfield's been a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I guess you were kind of like they were kind of banking on him being, a bit of a savior in a sense. I like Brant Clark. I think he's good. Good defenseman. Could kind of fill in for Drew Doughty when the end comes. But no, they're not going to win.
I see the Kings being a middle of the pack team for a few years. At least until Panarin is still good and Kempe and Fiala, but Kopitar is leaving. Doughty's going to leave soon, but they're older guys. There's not much in the pipeline unless Byfield really takes off as a true number 1 center. I think their peak has been achieved, and it has been over the last few years to be eliminated in the first round by the Edmonton Oilers.
That's every year, yeah.
So I think they should, but I do agree with you that there's not much you can do with the Kings. They're not going to do it. No. And just the fact that they traded away a second-round pick and a prospect for Panarin shows that they're not doing it. At some point, I think they will have to do it. But I think this is the kind of team that will do it because they had no choice.
Snake, I mean, this offseason, they kind of gave us the answer when they brought in Ken Holland.
Exactly.
When they brought in Ken Holland, they said, okay, no, we're going to still try to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Ken Holland's not there to rebuild. That's not what he's there for. No. So, no, they're going to age out and then restart from scratch, but they're going to run its process,
Yeah, and exactly. They're going to be like what's happening with them. What will happen to them is what's happening with my next team. Forced to rebuild, the Calgary Flames.
Yes, okay, I had them. Yeah. That's an easy one. That's an easy one.
Yeah, because they have no choice.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
Even if they didn't want to, they're bottoming out with that group of players. So I think in the case of Calgary, if they ever get credit for their rebuild, 6-7 years down the road, if they become good, I don't think they can be credited with having the great idea of rebuilding, like we were talking, about Nashville or Toronto or Pittsburgh. No, they'll have no choice.
They have to. Yeah.
They have nothing almost. Huberdeau is 32 years old. He's under contract for $10 million a year for quite a few years. Kadri's still not bad, but he's 35. If I were them, I'd try and trade him ASAP and even eat up half his salary. Yeah. And as for the young players, Coronado's okay. Connor Zeri's okay. the guys in their peak right now, Farabee, Sharangovich, they're fine. But I think their only good, very young player is Mate Gradin. And why didn't I say Zane Parekh? Because I'm still not sure yet how well Parekh will defend in the NHL. Yeah. I'm not sold on Parekh's defensive game, but he's very young. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, so let's include him. So, they have a goalie who had a great rookie season, Dustin Wolf, not as good this year. They have Parekh on defense. They have Gradin up front, but they're not stars. So I think Calgary will get quite a few after not having their first-round pick for a few years. I think the Montreal Canadiens always owned it for Sean Monahan and other guys. I think Tyler Toffoli, they give away a pick for Tyler Toffoli. So I think Calgary, it has just run its course, and they're forced to rebuild. Yeah,
exactly.
The last team is probably the one that you have also is Vancouver.
Okay, I actually considered Vancouver as an ongoing rebuild. Like they've already committed to it.
Yeah. So you have another team. You have another team.
Another team. Yes.
Okay, well, can we talk about Vancouver first?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, with Vancouver, I see the same problem as I see, let's see, with Toronto and Nashville. They have too many guys under contract. Pedersen, Besser, DeBrusk.
Garland's going to have a no.
Connor Garland, I think, could be traded, but because it's the last season that he doesn't have that no trade clause. But will any team want to pick up his $6 million salary for next few years? What will they give up for him? I think Vancouver's strength is on defense in terms of young players with Bouillon and Willander. And, in net, they re-signed Kevin Lankinen because they don't trust Thatcher Demko's health.
Why would you?
Philip Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, they're fine defensemen. Will they be traded? Again, they have no trade clauses. Tyler Myers supposedly will be traded. I think this is the guy we might talk about on Monday because he wasn't playing last night. So usually when a guy sits, it's because they're very, very close to making a deal. He had a no trade clause, but he's probably going to waive it for certain teams. So I think Vancouver's situation, with Vancouver, they still have good players. They're not performing, but they have good players. And if they're going to be stuck with these veterans, I think if they get, let's say, a Stenberg at number one.
Ooh, that changes things.
It changes things because they already have a good base of players, albeit, expensive and a little bit older. But I think Vancouver could be part of the retool group.
Oh.
Could be part of a retool.
So you wouldn't go full rebuild.
If they get because they can't. They can't with all these no trade clauses, I think they can't. Yeah. And I think some of these players are still quality players. I think they're having a bad season, but I don't think they're as bad as their record shows. So I think they could bounce back, maybe not to look, they traded Quinn Hughes. So obviously that they pretty much knew he wasn't going to resign. Now they got Rossi, they got Ogren, and who else did they get for him? The other guy from Minnesota. Bouillon. Yeah. I think it's not a bad return considering Rossi. I don't trust as a top 6 centerman, 5'9". I would trade Rossi.
Wow.
I would trade Rossi.
Flip him. Interesting.
But yeah, I think Vancouver, because of the circumstances, retool. What's your last one, Shayne?
I think you already know who my last one is. Any chance I get to rip them, I do it.
Who?
The Seattle Kraken are one of the worst built teams in the NHL. They have no direction. They don't know what they are. I don't even know if a rebuild or a retool, like I don't know what would do to fix that team because they've handcuffed themselves so badly, Sneak. I mean, Chandler Stevenson, Jaden Schwartz, Jared McCann, Jordan Eberle, Frédéric Gaudreau, Vince Dunn, Brandon Montour, Adam Larson, Jamie Alexiak, Ryan Lindgren, all of these players have some form of a no-trade clause.
Yeah.
What?
And they're not a good
idea.
They're not bad players, but they are complementary players.
No trade clause worthy.
I know. Because individually, they're the type of players that you add to a Stanley Cup contender and they can help. But as a whole,
I forgot both goalies as well.
Yeah, both goalie, Grubauer and Decard. It's absolutely ridiculous. It was really mismanaged. Luckily for them, they seem to have been good at the draft table in general.
Yes.
But we don't have the verdict yet. But I like O'Brien. I like Berkeley Cadden. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes with Seattle. I agree with you that they're in a position where they should bottom out. But instead, they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Which is the wrong thing for them.
So they're probably thinking, okay, we're fine. I think the minute they started assembling this team in 2021, I remember telling myself, this is going to be a perennial middle of the pack team. And this is exactly what's happening right now. Yeah.
Here we are.
1 year they make it, 1 year they don't. Yeah. And you know what? They could have done it in Seattle. They could have bottomed out for a few years because people were hockey hungry in Seattle. We're not talking, we're not talking the situation of the Winnipeg Jets.
So listen, they got the second overall pick in Matty Beniers, okay? Yeah. But imagine had they gotten another one or another top 3 pick, okay, as the years go on. The fans would have still been excited about the future. Okay,
Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, maybe. That. You never know.
Imagine that. So they completely mismanaged. The contracts are horrible on that team. Yeah. I genuinely despise the way they're built. And they've handcuffed themselves to a point where they can't commit to a full rebuild. They just kind of have to go through the motions and be okay every year and get, middle of the pack picks and get bounced in the first round or barely miss the playoffs. It's going to be a circle of shit that's going to keep happening in Seattle. And they only have themselves to blame for that. So
as a fan of expansion teams, that are built from the ground up, I was very disappointed with what happened. Yeah.
Highly disappointed. But anyways, Snake, we've almost gone an hour just on this topic, and shout out to I forget the person's name who suggested it, but you got us riled up, you got us going here. This is a topic that we're very passionate about, as you can tell. But Snake, this is going to be an extended show. We have to keep going because there's more on the table here. But before we do, I'd like to take a moment here to thank our partners here at the Sick Podcast who make this show possible. And of course, we're starting with Cheapest T-shirts, our good friends there. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every single day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. With over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands like Gildan, Jerseys, American Apparel, M&O, and Comfort Colors, the selection is unmatched. Plus, you can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And a big shout out, of course, to Betway, where you can go all the way with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. And with that, it's time for Snake's Hot Take. We skipped it last week, but I know you're locked and loaded today, Snake. What you got cooked up for us?
Well, it's not going to be long because we've talked about these rebuilding teams for longer than I thought we would. But my hot take this week is regarding Gavin McKenna's situation. Gavin McKenna had an 8.9 night last Friday. And I would say that a lot of these points were kind of easy points to get. Anyone who has the opportunity to go watch highlights will notice this probably. But my point about McKenna is that the guy gets an 8-point game against Ohio State, and all of a sudden, a lot of these draftniks are putting him back on top because of one game. After basically, deconstructing him for months and months and months, and now he's back on top.
Yeah.
And my take on this is, as a guy who only does one list at the end of the year, calm down with these overreactions after one game or two games or a sequence for a player. I do understand that the draft board might fluctuate during the year. It's normal. It's normal because throughout a player's career, what we think of that player changes. What we think of, Sidney Crosby now is not exactly what we thought of him in 2008 or 2009. We still think very highly of him, but he's not considered the top player in hockey anymore. So that's normal. But within a season, a draft season, is it possible to just calm down, analyze the whole season, and then in May, you sit down and you do your list instead of going with these yo-yo analysis all year round based on one game that probably some of them have not even seen.
That's it. They just saw the 8 points. They're like, what? He's first.
Look, I respect a guy who scores 8 points in a game. Okay, not many players do it, whether it be in junior hockey, let alone the NHL. But I'm not ready to put this guy back on top of the draft list because of one game.
Correct.
Now, the thing with him, we've talked about it a lot. He's the kind of player that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, in the sense of drafting him. It's very risky to not draft a guy who could score 90 points a season, but it's also risky to draft a guy who's an undersized winger with flaws in his game. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about it as we approach draft day. But for now, can we calm down before putting him back at number one just because of one game against a team that has no players who will make the NHL?
There you go. I think that's a good point. And
that's it.
By the way, I think we're going to talk about him again in a few minutes. Let's get over to the mailbag. Our first question is coming from TNT Shark. There you have it. We're talking McKenna again. Hey guys, always good to listen to your podcast. We appreciate that, my friend. Question for Snake. I heard you compare Demidov to McKenna, but I want to know what would be the comparison between McKenna and Trevor Zegras. Both can score 80 points one day. Both are flashy, but are both overrated? Do you agree or disagree? And bonus question, is Stenberg a better / safer pick in your opinion? Okay,
I'll answer the second question because it's an easy answer. I think yes, Stenberg is the better safer pick. Now, the McKenna-Zegras comparison I've never heard before. It's interesting because Trevor Zegras did not have the draft profile or the pedigree that McKenna does, and very often when we compare players, we don't think of a guy who was drafted 9th overall, I think, Zegras, and compare him with a guy who was seen as a generational player less than a year ago. But the comparison does, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. Now, the question is, we have seen a different Trevor Zegras when he started out in Anaheim, when he finished in Anaheim, and the Zegras from Philadelphia this year. Zegras is very hard to evaluate because I saw three different players. The first player that I saw in Anaheim was a flashy guy who only cared about doing the Michigan. And that's what he was known for, actually. That's why he became a little bit of a cult hero, on TikTok because of his goals. And then I think Greg Cronin didn't like his play. He totally lost confidence in him. Zegras lost confidence in himself. I remember watching Anaheim games last year. The guy was a shadow of himself. Mm-hmm. He was a non-factor on the ice. It's not that he was flashy and inefficient. He was simply not there. He was totally not there. And that's why they only got Ryan Poehling for him. Because I remember trade scenarios a couple of years ago when people were talking about Zegras leaving. I remember, a first-round pick and a top prospect. And I remember people making trades for the Habs. Well, they should give up this guy and a first-round pick. And it's like, Ryan Poehling? That's the best offer he got? Mm-hmm. So it shows you how down he went. Then this year in Philadelphia, I think he's more engaged. I think he meshes well with Philadelphia. We had no clue what was going to happen, but I think he does have a very good season. I think he's more engaged than he used to be. So I'm not sure. I think the McKenna comparison is not necessarily the type of players that they are, but mostly what the outcome could be, the impact could be. That's what I mean by the impact. Right now, Zegras in Philadelphia is an impact top six player.
Yeah.
Could McKenna become an impact top six player? Definitely. Can he become better than that? I'm not sure. And that's where the Zegras comparison makes sense in terms of production, in terms of efficiency. But I don't think they're exactly the same type of player. McKenna, look, like you said, we're going to talk about him a lot as the draft approaches. Yeah. And what was the other? Wasn't there another question you were talking about? Well, Demidov
it's bringing back the fact that you had discussed and compared Demidov
McKenna and Demidov,
but now wanted to compare with Zegras. So,
yeah. But I think McKenna will be closer to Zegras than to Demidov in terms of impact.
There we go. Okay,
my point of view as of February 26, which might be very different in a couple of years.
Listen, we adapt and we take the information that's given to us, but as of today, it's hard to disagree. All right, let's get to the second one. This one coming from VH. It's not quite a question, but it kind of is. Okay, so seems to me like Snake underestimates the value of teammate utilization. He deems as elite guys who control the play. If you're my best player, that means you're going to be on my top line, surrounded by my other best players. I would much rather have a great team player like Nick Suzuki than a puck muncher like Tim Stützle, who I know Snake loves. That's not being elite. It's poor teammate utilization. Being able to read the play off the puck and use your teammates appropriately is supremely important for top-line players, and Suzuki does it beautifully. Patrice Bergeron became a Hall of Famer for it. Okay. This is interesting, Snake. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I like being challenged this way because this listener has a very nice expose about what a top centerman should be. So I do agree with the expose, but I'm not sure I agree 100% with the names that are mentioned. And I'll explain. Stützle can be a bit of a puck muncher. I do agree. Mm-hmm. However, I do think that he controls the play. Does he always make the right play selection? Maybe not. But to me, someone who has the puck so much does something right. Because when you have the puck, the opponent doesn't have the puck. Now, as for Suzuki, I do agree that he utilizes his teammates well. I do agree that it's part of controlling the play. I do agree with that. Where I don't necessarily agree is that I don't find that, let's say Suzuki is on the ice for 20 minutes a game. I don't find that he does it on a consistent basis. And this is why I always had him in the second tier of centerman. I don't see him as a superstar. This is the reason why. Because although I agree in theory with what the listener said, I think Suzuki doesn't do it enough. So he does do it, but not enough. There are long periods of time where I don't see Suzuki on the ice. And actually, today's Thursday, I'm going to see Matthew Shayne tonight at the Bell Center.
Yes.
And that was the purpose of my my trip to the Bell Center. But tonight, I promise, I'm going to watch Suzuki very closely. And I'm going to try and see what a lot of listeners have been telling me also on my French podcast that I still to be missing about Suzuki. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not joking. I really want to see it because honestly, I watch games and I'm like, okay, where's number 14? And then at some point he shows up and he gets 2 points. Because when he does play well, he plays well.
Oh, does he ever?
You know, you saw that play at the Olympics. I mean, it was a pretty quiet tournament for him. But if he doesn't make that play, there might not be a medal for Canada.
Precisely.
There were 3 minutes left. I mean, yeah, they could have tied the score at 6-on-5, but we'll never know. But what we do know is that he scored the equalizer. So I don't deny that Suzuki can be a great player. My issue is that I don't see him enough compared with a Jack Hughes, a Stützle, a McDavid, a McKinnon, you know, all these guys who I think are part of the another tier in my book. But we'll talk about it on Monday. Going to the game tonight.
Yeah.
And look, maybe I'm totally wrong. I'm just we'll see.
You know, I like that the questioner asked, posed the question using those two names. I actually like the fact that he brought up those two names. Yeah. Or she. I don't know who VH is, but however, what's interesting to me is when I think of, okay, what if Suzuki and Stützle were swapped? Okay, Stützle gets to be on the Habs first line with Cole Caulfield as his winger. Okay, pure goal scorer. Okay, and right now, Stützle is leading the way in goals for Ottawa, right? So he kind of has to take charge. He has to fabricate his own plays and finish them as well. Whereas Suzuki has an elite sniper on his wing that he can just feed, right? So I'd be curious to know how they would change if they were swapped, because right now they're in two different situations from my point of view.
I think that's a very interesting point. I've never thought of this. But one thing is sure, Suzuki and Caulfield have proven to be extremely effective together.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a gimme. Suzuki and Caulfield is like, you know, what is it?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Strawberry, peanut butter and jelly, you know, strawberries and cream, you know. So that's a combination that I think will stay together for a while. But it was also a good idea to put Slavkovsky with Demidov, because Slavkovsky was not as good with them. So now the idea is to find someone to play with Suzuki and Caulfield. But I do like your point. I don't know who Stützle could play with in Montreal. It's kind of intriguing because he is a puck muncher.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting question.
Hey, listen, we can send the question over to our listeners. Yeah. Chime in the comments. Let us know if you agree, however you agree, or give us your thoughts on the situation. Give us your thoughts on the whole show. Which teams need a rebuild? How should they approach their rebuild? Okay, we want to hear from you. Now, Snake, next show is a big one, okay? Because you're going to be talking about Matthew Shayne and Nick Suzuki and what you saw in tonight's game. Mm-hmm. But we're also going to tee up the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it's next week. It's next week. So
we might have trades to comment also that could happen over the weekend. Yeah.
Hopefully. That'd be great.
But and I think the Habs are going to make moves. So it should be an interesting week. For the first time in years, I think the Habs could be buyers.
So our duty for Monday will be to bring up names, okay? Yeah. Specifically for the Montreal Canadiens. So if you're a Habs fan, tune in on Monday. Well, tune in every day. Every time we release a show, it's always fun. But Monday, we're going to have a big one for you, okay? We're going to have names and trade proposals Okay, we're going to cook some up. I've already got some in the bank. Okay, so get ready for that. And Snake, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on tonight's game. I'm very excited to watch it. Very excited for you that you get to be there and see Matthew Schaefer live in action, because wow, what a player. He's incredible. So that's it. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, let's hope we get some trades this weekend.
Let's hope so. And not just Tyler Myers, just like actual trades, please. So that's going to do it for us today. An extended version of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process, but worth it. For Simo the Snake Boisvert, thank you to Juliana at Master Control. I'm producer Shayne. We'll see you again on Monday for a big one. Until then, take it easy.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.